So today we are going to continue to learn about point of view. We're going to learn what the narrator is in a story and how to identify the point of view in a passage that we read, because this will help us to understand the text much better if we see it through the eyes of the narrator. So, point of view, POV, how the person thinks or feels about something. We are looking through their eyes in the story. And so knowing that the narrator or the speaker, what their point of view is, it will influence how the story is told, the descriptions, how they view different situations in the story and different items. And so that description, that viewpoint helps us to understand a story, and it's important to identify whose point of view is the story being told from. And so think about a time when your mom or dad or somebody asks you to do chores. Your parents' point of view is that chores, they teach you responsibility. They're important. They're good for you to do, not just because the task has to be done, but it builds something in you, some responsibility. Student's point of view is that chores are boring and tedious and they take time away from what you want to do. So you look at the same thing in two different ways. Each person looks at that task differently based on what their interests are, their experiences, and so each character brings different experiences and situations and beliefs to a certain situation or story. And so the point of view can change how the story is told. Let's look at this video from Khan Academy that really outlines things really well.
Hello, readers. Today, I want to talk all about me. Well, I want to talk about three things. First, I want to talk all about me. Then I'm going to talk about you. And then we're going to talk about them. David, what are you talking about? You're probably asking. Well, in a word, POV. In 3 words, point of view. Every story has a point of view. It's being told to us by someone, a narrator. But who is that narrator? Understanding the answer to that question in the stories that you read will make you a strong reader. There are 3 different flavors of point of view. First, second, and third person. First person is when the narrator is a character in the story. They use words like I, me, and my. Here's an example. I bolted out of bed, grabbed my backpack, and rushed out the door. Today was the day I was finally going to learn to ride a horse. First-person narrators can only tell us the parts of the story that they experienced or already know about. If something happens that the narrator doesn't know about, we, the reader, won't know about it either. Second person is when you are a character in the story. This is pretty rare. A lot of the choose-your-own-adventure books that were popular when I was a kid use second-person point of view, but they're not as big as they used to be. Imagine a guided relaxation recording when you think of second person. You are calm. Your breathing is slow and even. You are sitting on a bench, looking at the ocean. The ocean is calm, and so are you. This kind of point of view usually sounds like it's giving directions to you, the reader. The most common point of view in stories is the third person, a narrator who isn't a character in the story. A third-person narrator uses words like he, she, and they for characters in the story, instead of I or you. It lets the storyteller get inside the heads of characters to see how they're feeling, or what they're thinking. Here's an example. Benny opened his closet door to grab a jacket, only to be greeted by a horrifying monster. He screamed and ran out of the room, scared out of his mind. Inside her monster costume, Rita giggled. She had tricked her brother. See how we can follow both Rita and Benny? The narrator can see what both of them are thinking or feeling at the same time. Now imagine if that little snippet were told from Rita or Benny's first-person perspectives, Rita using I or Benny using I, instead of a third-person POV using he or she. We might see it differently reading that story. From Rita's perspective, it's a funny prank. From Benny's, it's super scary. He just saw a monster. So, to recap, there are 3 different types of narration or points of view in a story. First person, the narrator is a character inside the story and uses words like I or me. Second person, the narrator is speaking directly to you, the reader, and uses the pronoun you. This is rare, and it sounds like it's giving directions. And third person, the narrator is outside the story. In telling it, they use words like he, she, and they. What's the POV of your favorite story? Is it first person, second, or third? How would it feel different if it were told from a different point of view? Would the narrator know different things? I can tell you one thing I know for certain, and that's that you can learn anything. David out.
All right, so let's just review what they said in this video. The first person, the narrator, is a character inside the story. They are telling the story, they're experiencing it, so they would say I or me or we, and they're telling it from their point of view, their perspective. Second person, not very common, you would see the word you. So if you think about if you've ever put something together, you put Legos together, it might, if you built something, if you've ever cooked something, they might tell you to do first step, second step, third step. So first you gather all your materials. Then you would need to cut up the ingredients. Then you should take out this. And so that pronoun you would be used when you're talking directly to the person reading. And then third person, you are having where you have third person limited, where you only know the thoughts and actions of one person, but you would say he, she, they, or third person omniscient, which means the narrator of the story, they know what all the characters are thinking and feeling. They're looking through things from above and just seeing everything. But in that case, there's no I, it's just he and she. And so probably the most common point of view in the stories that you read. So the narrator of a story is the one who's speaking, the one who's giving the story or the poem. And so, for example, in the story A Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Greg is describing his life through his eyes. He shares his point of view, how he's thinking, how he's feeling, how he views different characters and events that are happening on in the story. When you read this book, you think about what causes Greg to describe people in certain ways and what he's feeling and thinking. Um, what is it about his feelings or interests or experiences that shapes the telling of events? So we think about this as a reader. What is it about Greg and what he is like that makes him look at things from his perspective? So let's look at a quick example here. Here is two cousins. They're talking. One's a city cousin, one's a country cousin. Where they live, the first boy right here says, I'm not used to all this quiet, cousin. Yeah, I bet it's different than city living. Whoa, what's that thing? It's a grouse. They aren't in the city? Of course not. They're everywhere, like foxes and muskrats. How are you not amazed? That's so cool. I'm just used to it. Our points of view are different. So we have this, and they see this bird, this grouse. To one character who lives in the city, they've never seen a grouse. And to the character in the country, their point of view, like this is just normal. And so when we think about this, knowing how their point of view influences them will help you understand the story better. So let's think about this. The city cousin thinks this grouse, this bird's amazing. Wow, this is unique. I've never seen anything like this. And so evidence of this would be when they said this. Whoa, what's that thing? How are you not amazed? That's so cool. And so that cousin definitely looks at that situation amazed and really mesmerized about something they've never seen before. The country cousin thinks grouses are ordinary, plain, just normal, nothing special. And then she says, they're everywhere, or I'm used to it. And so the exact same thing, same situation, very different compared to like when you compare the two different perspectives, the two different ways of looking at things. And so to understand a text, we really have to be able to identify the point of view and think about how that influences the story. So today you're going to complete your literature circle assignments, whatever's assigned. Do the reading, do your job, and if you're scheduled for a literature circle discussion today, check the times and do that. Remember, you should still get your 2 steps of reading in class, 2 steps for homework. Your literature circle book can count, but that's not the only thing you should be reading. So I'll also have another example. All right, you guys are awesome. Keep working.